Hello everybody, hope you are having a fantastic day. Today I'm going to talk about wine prefixes, what they are, how they work, and why you should use them. In the previous video I mentioned them briefly. I mentioned wine prefixes briefly, but in this video I'll actually explain them so that you can have an idea on why to use them and how they work. So the best way I could explain a wine prefix is that it is a minimal Windows installation. So it contains files, settings, all things that are required to get a Windows program running. So when you run wine for the first time, it initializes a default wine prefix. This is in your home directory. It is the .wine folder. So if I look in the .wine folder, that's our default wine prefix. So let's take a look at what's actually in it. So we have two folders, the DOS devices and drive C folders. And then you have three .reg files. The .reg files are actually used by the Windows registry. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a place where Windows applications can store their settings. So the folder I want to focus on is the drive C folder. So let's take a look. And if you know Windows, if ever used Windows, you know exactly what this is. This is basically the C drive. So we have our Windows folder, the user folder, the program files folders, both the x86 and the normal one. If you look in the Windows folder, you can see all the classic Windows applications that are there, and there's also the classic System32, which contains a whole bunch of files in there as well. So that's wine prefix. But a feature of wine is that you can actually create another wine prefix. So you can create as many wine prefixes as you need. So I'll show you how to do that. We could do that by overriding the wine prefix environment variable. So we could set it like this and we give it a path. So let's say we want to make a wine prefix in this folder, .new wine, for example. And then you run your wine commands. So let's say we want to run explorer.exe, which is the Windows Explorer. I'll go into detail about the wine utilities in a different video, but I just want to show you the effect of a wine prefix. So I'm going to run it, and it initializes this wine prefix the same way that it did in the previous video, but for a different path, a different folder. Okay, we can go to the Explorer, go to the C drive, and I want you to see in the programs file folder. So notice how there is no Notepad++ folder. In the previous video, I installed Notepad++ in the default wine prefix to say, and when you install it, it creates a folder here. Well, because we are in a different wine prefix, that is not there. So I'm showing you having a different wine prefix does this. If I close this and I set it, if I remove the override, so I am going to run it, but now it's going to run in the default wine prefix, and we go to that same path, notice that there is in this wine prefix the Notepad++ folder. So Notepad++ is installed in this wine prefix and not the one that we just created, which is what we want. When people talk about having a clean wine prefix, this is what they mean. They have a different wine prefix that is freshly initialized. So if people say if there's a bug in wine, for example, that they found, then they say to replicate in a clean wine prefix. This is what they mean. You create a new wine prefix and try to replicate the bug there. But why would we have different wine prefixes in the first place? Why not just have everything in one big wine prefix? Well, the answer is to make your life easier. So if you installed every single program that you wanted to run in wine in a single wine prefix, then what would happen is, imagine if you were using Winetricks, which I'm going to cover in another video, but basically it allows you to install components that other applications need in order to even run under wine. So if you start doing that, you might unintentionally break your wine prefix. So applications will just stop working. Imagine if you deleted a file that is required by all wine applications, then the wine prefix no longer works. Or you change a registry key or something like that and it stops working. That's what I mean. So the solution is to put things into separate wine prefixes. So if you break something there, not all your applications are broken. So all your settings, all your stuff, it's in separate wine prefixes, and so they won't be affected if you accidentally break one of them. And so that's the whole idea of having a wine prefix. One last thing to note. Let's say you wanted to run a couple of wine commands in succession in a specific wine prefix, but you don't want to keep on writing wine prefix equals blah 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 all the time. Well, what you can do is you can export that variable, that environment variable, in your shell. What that means is that every time you run wine for the next time, then it will actually use that wine prefix instead of the default one. So this environment variable is set in this current session, in this current shell session, and then you don't have to type in wine prefix equals tilde dot new wine. You don't have to do that. So if I run wine explorer, and we go to the folder I was talking about, here it is. We are running in the new wine prefix, not the one that contains Notepad++. Anyway, I hope you learned something today, and I will see you in the next one.